What's up, my box truck bosses? It's a business doctor, and welcome back to Box Truck Bank, where I discuss all things box truck. And today we're going to be discussing how to get through weigh stations and DOT inspections. When I first got into the box truck game, I made a lot of mistakes. I had a cousin who had told me about box trucks and kind of influenced me to get into the game. And he started his company maybe a couple months before mine. So neither one of us had much experience. We didn't have a mentor. We had to really learn everything by bumping our head, getting some tickets at weigh stations, and understanding what not to do kind of by trial and error. But if I would have had someone to help me, I could have saved myself a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of stress. So I wanted to create this video today to help all my box truck bosses. I'm on vacation now, in Vegas right now, but I really wanted to get this content out, so I took some time to come and share this with you. Because remember, no matter how much money you make, and we can make a lot of money with box trucks, if you don't have time to enjoy it and spend it with your family, for yourself, your wife, your kids, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? And that's why I try to make sure I balance that as much as possible. Now, there are going to be times where you have to work hard and you got to make some sacrifices. But remember, we work hard, but we play harder. So as we talk about weigh stations, what is a weigh station? So weigh stations are normally located at the entry points of a state where vehicles will be entering and exiting the state. And what these weigh stations are is they're weighing each commercial vehicle to determine if they're overweight and also to determine if they're legally operating. With weigh stations, when you go through these stations, there are a lot of things that these officers can ticket you or do an inspection for. And side note, remember, with commercial vehicles, they're different. The laws are different than when you're in your personal vehicle. Officers have to have a cause or reason, for pulling you over. But this doesn't apply. The same rules don't apply with commercial vehicles. Officers can pull you over just to do an inspection, even if you weren't speeding or even if there weren't any issues or a particular issue for pulling you over. So it's not advisable to ask the officer, why are you pulling me over? Because they could simply reply, just because. And this not only applies to just the weigh stations, but as you're traveling through the city, going through to the shippers and deliveries, and even on the highway, they can pull you over just because. Now, when you're going through these weigh stations, how they determine if you're overweight is they base it on the GVWR, which is the gross vehicle weight rating. There should be a sticker on the inside of the door or the cab door that'll have how much weight should be on each axle. But also for box trucks, it'll have it on there listed for the entire truck. So the gross vehicle weight rating is how much the truck can hold with the load, with the driver or drivers, and with fuel and DEF if applicable. So let's say the gross vehicle weight rating is 26,000 pounds. Your truck at any given time cannot be over 26,000 pounds. So how you determine how much your truck, your load capacity, is you go to some scales. A lot of different gas stations have scales. You go to a scale with the empty truck, with the empty trailer, with the empty trailer. With that empty trailer, what you'll need to do is make sure that your gas is full and that your DEF is full, because that does go into that weight. See how much it weighs. So let's say yours was 16,000 pounds with gas, with DEF, with the driver, with his bags, with everything. Then you know my load capacity is 10,000 pounds. 26,000 pounds minus what my truck is empty is 16,000 pounds. So that's what they use to determine if you're overweight. So let's say you get to a weigh station and they'll say, would you go ahead and pull over? We're going to do an inspection. So when they do your inspection, there are some documents that you're required to have, and then there's also some documents that I advise you have which will just help make the process run smoother, and it shows that you have everything in order. But before I go through those documents that you need, make sure that your drivers are attentive and paying attention. Don't have food and trash all over the dash. They want to make sure that the cab is kept clean, at least kept clean when you go through the weigh stations, because it shows, to me, from my opinion, that the truck is well taken care of. And I think that, it's more likely they think you have your things together if you present it in an orderly manner. I had a driver go through a weigh station and got ticketed for not having a seatbelt on. Now, one, that's a violation of in my company's handbook, but you should always be wearing your seatbelt. And if you're not wearing your seatbelt, at least wear it when you're going through the weigh station, because that's what they're checking for. They're looking for things like this because it shows, how much the driver is willing to follow the law. And it could, end up being in an inspection. An inspection can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour or an hour and a half. So you get through the weigh station, they want to pull you over for an inspection. It's vital that you have a 3-ring binder, not some flimsy, cheap binder, but spend $3 to $5 to get you a decent binder. On the front of it, you want to make sure you have a sheet of paper that has your company name, and I will put DOT compliance book or compliance documents. Print it off. You can print it off at home. Take it in. It's maybe less than $1 to print off one sheet. So the cover page, that's going to go on the front of the binder. On the next page of it, this isn't required, but it's what I recommend you have, because when that officer is looking through this inspection book, it's easy for him to navigate, and I would assume makes him go a little bit quicker. So I will have a general information page. With this general information page, you want to have your MC number, your DOT number, and a list of all the vehicles you have. This can come in handy because if you ever have drivers switching from truck to truck, or they're in a rental, or if they're not in that truck, they can just take that binder. You don't have to reprint these documents. So on my general information, I have a list of all my vehicles so that it's interchangeable. I have the VIN, I have the tag number, and I have the color of it, the body, and important information related to that vehicle. You'll also want to have a list of your driver's name. If something happens to your driver, let's say I've heard of trucks being stolen. If they accidentally give them that can raise some red flags and hopefully help you hopefully it doesn't happen, but if your truck is ever stolen. So have your driver's name, their address, their contact information to show that they're a driver of your company. Next, you want to have a list of corporate officers. If there's ever an issue that an officer is able to resolve by calling you directly, maybe the driver doesn't have some document they need, or there's an issue, the officer may call you directly to resolve it versus writing a ticket or versus putting you out of service. This probably isn't likely, but it's good to have that corporate officer listed and just name and phone number, or important contacts in your business who will be able to make decisions on behalf of your business. Next, you'll need your driver's medical card. They'll have their own copy with them, but make a copy of that and put that in their folder. And in this folder, it's important that you have sheet protectors. One, they can get ripped out of the 3 holes. They can get bent, and these sheet protectors help protect them, and it makes you present it in a more orderly fashion. But DOT medical card for your driver, and then a copy of the front and back of the driver's license. Drivers lose wallets. Drivers lose things all the time. They ever have to drive back without that information, at least they'll have some type of copy of it. It wouldn't be valid as a license, but at least the officer would know that we did make a copy of that. Next, you want to have a folder for your shipping papers. So this includes your bill of lading. This includes any information related, if the truck was recently weighed, any copies of that, things related to the load that you're on. Also, what's important to have is any receipts for gas, receipts for things that they bought. They had to buy a headlight, because if there's ever any issues related to the hours of service. Those can be used as support to say, no, this is where I was at this time, and kind of make your case if there's ever any issues with the officer related to the hours of service. Next, you want to have a copy of your MC authority, just showing that your authority is active. You also want to have proof of insurance. So this can be in the form of a verification card, and I would recommend have a verification card and also have a certificate of insurance. Now, what's required on these documents, which most insurance companies have it, but make sure that it has an effective date and an expiration date, because without those on there, they won't be effective. Next, you want to have your vehicle registration. If you don't have that for some reason, I know in some states you can go online, put in your tag number, and you can actually print it off. As long as you have, it'll ask, I think, for the VIN and some, I think the whoever's name is registered in, it'll ask for their address. And as long as you have all that information, which should be yours or the person you're leasing the truck from, you can get that registration. Next, you want to have the UCR, which is the Unified Carrier Registration. This has to be renewed every year based on how many trucks you have, or based on how much you have to pay for this registration. So let's say you start your company, box truck business, this month, October 2021. Before you hit the road, you have to have your UCR filed. It maybe takes 5 minutes to complete online. You don't wait until next year to file it. I knew someone that I was working with who had started their company and they thought they had to wait till the next year to file it. No, even if you start in the middle of the year, you have to have that year filed. So if you started in October, you would need to file your UCR before you hit the road, and then on January 1st, you will file another UCR. Next, what you need to have is a DOT inspection form. This is a form that says your truck meets all DOT requirements. Generally, depending on what shop you go to, they're anywhere from $100 to $200 for these inspections. So it's a form that said, your wheels meet the requirement for DOT. You don't have any leaks. Your headlights work. The tail lights work. Your U-bolts work. And it's a long list of things that they check. But they should give you a form that shows it's done. But also there's a sticker that goes on the outside of your truck, generally on the driver's side, that has the information that this truck has an inspection. And this has to be done annually. And just like the UCR, this has to be done prior to you hitting the road. So if you start in October, you need a DOT inspection in October. And then on January 1, you need another inspection. Next, you need to have paper logs. If you're running on an ELD, which is an electronic logging device, you still need to have paper logs, and this is required in case your ELD ever goes out. You'll be able to use these paper logs. With the paper logs, these are important to have. It can save you a lot of time and a lot of headache if there's ever any issues if you get pulled over or the ELD is malfunctioning. With the ELD, most of the ELDs have an option for the drivers to select or complete a DVIR, which is a driver vehicle inspection report. And this says that the driver just checked did an inspection on the vehicle. What happens if you get pulled over and the officer says, we need to see your logs in the e-logs or electronic logs. In the app, all you have to do is, each app is different, but there's an option to export it and send it directly to that officer. And it doesn't allow you to modify it or change it. So the officers do accept that as a form of sending the logs. So with that, it'll also have your vehicle inspection reports, which your driver should be doing pre-trips and post-trips anyway. So it shouldn't be a problem to fill this out. In addition to that, you have to have periodic inspections of the truck. So this is just paperwork showing that your truck was inspected. It doesn't have to be by a shop or outside entity, but just the documents. And generally, I like to do my periodic inspections once a quarter. Next, what you'll need is, I already mentioned, any receipts obtained in the trip, just a proof of where you've traveled. So I hope this information has been helpful. I hope it'll prevent you from getting a lot of tickets, save you a lot of money, and help you. When you present yourself, present the business. This is the first encounter that these officers have with the business. So it's important that you present yourself in an orderly manner, that you have all the documents you need, that you're not fumbling through papers or words that said, this is under the seat. If you have it all in one binder and together, this will help things go smoother. So if there's anything I missed that you think needs to be included also in there, go ahead and comment below. Or if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment. So before we end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, keep trucking, my Bucks Truck bosses. This is Box Truck Bank.